Thank you for tuning in after the whistle. We had a little technical difficulty. I appreciate you guys staying with us. Let's go ahead and again welcome Steve Mushi. Thanks for coming onto the show today. Steve has been on my show before. And what do you think of the new studio, Steve?
Looks amazing.
Thank you so much. Some hard work with the producers, so we'll go ahead and we thank them as always for all their hard work. So let's get right to the program. The one issue, with the NFL, the one thing I wanted to discuss, some unfortunate news last week where one of the Miami Dolphins' former players, Jonathan Martin, offensive lineman for the Miami Dolphins, was apprehended by the police department in LA because of some disturbing photos that he released on social media. Right after the high school shooting we had in Florida, he went on there and commented on his photos with a shotgun and labeled some players that he played with back in high school, back in Miami, one of them being Richie Incognito. And it's something sad because you don't know where the state of mental mind is. So law enforcement sources confirmed that he's been held in a mental facility and getting some treatments with that. You wonder what a player, a person with that caliber is thinking, and I'm glad he didn't act upon him. Law enforcement's apprehended him at the right time because who knows what would have happened if he proceeded with the social media and proceeded on moving into some acts that would be very harsh and shocking to the world. You saw that footage on social media with the shotgun, label players that he wanted to get even with, high school, saying, when you get bullied, this is what you go with. Again, with a picture of a shotgun, bullets, a hashtag in former players, his high school. What's your take on that, Steve?
It's very unfortunate how these players are acting nowadays. What was Jonathan Stewart doing? Jonathan Martin doing before this? He decides to come out on social media after a shooting at a high school. To me, that's really childish at this point. Him being bullied, back in his days, has no excuse. There should be no excuse towards that right now on what's going. For him as an NFL player, he should be a mentor to everybody and all the students and all the parents that lost their loving.
Absolutely. I agree. To a point where, yes, you're bullied in the NFL. You have people you can go discuss this to. Sometimes it's hard because, you have Richie Incognito, who was a bully in Miami. You have him who is known, he's bullied other people in other teams. You get a team that's divided in a professional league. It's not like you're in school where it's easier to go to a teacher. You're on the face of the NFL. Everyone knows what's going on, so it's a little bit harder for a player. And you don't know how weak he is mentally, so you don't know how he's taking to this at this point. In college, I don't think it was like that because when he played for Stanford under Andrew Luck, that moment wasn't there. Andrew Luck was a great player. He embraced him as a person. It's sad to see this at this stage, so you wonder again if this affected him as a child, or sometimes you wonder as football players. We know what CTE what can you do to a player. As an offensive lineman, you're in a battle of playing head-on with a defensive player. So you're in the front line. You're consistently clashing helmets. Is this the early signs of CTE where, what you don't know as a player, what you're thinking? Is he at that stage? Early signs. Are we catching it on time?
I at this point, they should do a scan on him, CT scan on him right now to see if there's anything going on in his brain. I mean, I don't know if you remember, Aaron Hernandez. With Aaron Hernandez, what happened with him at the age of 25, he had really bad, CT scan after he passed away. So, with Martin, I mean, like I said, you're the face of the you're the face of the Miami Dolphins. The shooting happened in your city. You should be doing what Anthony Rizzo did. Stepped away from his team, came to the school, did a vigil, and it's hurt him.
Absolutely.
I mean, you're a professional athlete.
Absolutely.
At this point, so.
Let's just hope he gets the help he deserves. And we're fortunate enough that they caught this on time, because who knows after that what he might have done if he proceeded with his acts. On to the Los Angeles Rams. We saw some breaking news last week where the Kansas City Chiefs traded with the Los Angeles Rams. The Los Angeles Rams got Marcus Peters, one of their phenomenal quarterbacks from Kansas City. As it is already, the Los Angeles Rams defense was phenomenal last year. Does this defense become even stronger? You got Marcus Peters, who is a shutdown cornerback, who is going to be a phenomenal cornerback with the Los Angeles Rams. He has, I say always buyers beware, because with his tactics on the field itself, he was caught and suspended in a fight with the Oakland Raiders where Marshawn Lynch had to run off the field and stop it. I mean, they are related. He was suspended for a game. And then, there's footages out there where Marcus Peters basically took a referee flag and whipped it into the stands. It's funny that we see stuff like this, but you're hurting your team, and then as a player, you're hurting your future, because eventually that if you're going to stick with this team or not, teams are going to out there going to look at you. He got lucky in this situation when you sit there and say, do we want this kind of player on our team? In his situation, the Los Angeles Rams probably overlooked all this. Say, we have a phenomenal cornerback. Let's trade for him and put him on our team. Does this defense become stronger with the Los Angeles Rams with the addition of Marcus Peters?
Absolutely. At this point, I mean, in my opinion, the Los Angeles Rams were a top 5 defense in the NFL. Their defense got them to where they were last year. Unfortunately, they lost in the playoffs. But once again, it was their first year under Coach Sean McVay, and having another elite defensive player added to their team, it pretty much lightens them up. Now they're the team to beat in the NFC. They had Aaron Donald, won the Defensive Player of the Year, and now they got a shutdown corner, and that's all that's all you look for at this point. I mean, I think the Rams won in this deal. Are the Chiefs rebuilding at this point? Getting rid of Alex Smith, getting rid of Marcus Peters. Who's next?
It's hard to say. I mean, for a team that gets knocked out in the playoffs, you rely on your defense. It's really hard to say. And with Marcus Peters, with the Los Angeles Rams, again, we're discussing, they made a great push. I'm surprised with Kansas City to take that step. You got, like you mentioned, you get rid of Alex Smith, who was probably your face with the offense, and then you get rid of Marcus Peters. Marcus Peters, then you got to wonder, Los Angeles Rams have done their homework. He got hurt in the first game against the Patriots with the Achilles. Another gamble they're taking on. Do we know something that we don't, the Los Angeles Rams, actually, do they know something we don't know?
I mean, Achilles injuries happen, ACL injuries happen. It's unfortunate it happened to that gentleman that got hurt, but with him back, having Peters and him on either side, I mean, look at the Seahawks. They, when they were having their Super Bowl run, they had Broner on one side and they had Sherman on the other side. It was really hard throwing against them. I mean, like I said, is it a rebuilding phase for them? Is it not? Your offensive coordinator gets hired as a head coach. You get rid of your quarterback. Now you get rid of your best, cornerback. Who's next to go? Is it your running back? Is it your head coach? Who is it? But I'm looking forward to seeing next season how it's going to turn out.
Yeah, I mean, to rebuild on the promises in the season last year, they must realize, hey, you know what? This is not the team we want to put forward. So we'll see what happens in Kansas City, like you mentioned. On to our next player that we're going to discuss is Martavis Bryant with the Pittsburgh Steelers. It looks like the Steelers are trying to keep their options open with this player. He is a great player. Any team out there that is looking for your prime wide receiver that you want to build it on can use his talents. Now, again, with this player, again, it's buyer beware because, you got Martavius Bryant, who we both know that his tactics on the sideline, he's disruptive. Okay, we saw what happened when he wasn't getting the ball. He wanted to be more utilized. He can be very talented when he wants to be, but, childish at the same time. When I say buyer beware, teams need to do their homework because if you're going to bring a player like him, we've had past players like Keyshawn Johnson. We've had past players where they just divided the locker room. Can he be that kind of player where if something goes wrong, he won't play the game? We've seen that with Des Bryant, where he's dropped plays when he's wanting the ball. Keyshawn Johnson, like I had mentioned. Or it's just, is it Brown with the Pittsburgh Steelers? He's a name out there, the receiver that he's going to be the lead guy to go to. So Martavius Bryant is going to be a player where it's like, well, you know what? I want to find my team where, the team I'm relied on the most. At this point, to me, it's like a receiver who's going to cause a heartache in a team. Do they pass on all that, like we just discussed with Marcus Peters, or do they pursue him? Go after Martavius Bryant. One team that comes to mind, honestly, they should go after him, depending on his tactics on the field, off the field, is the Chicago Bears. You got a Bears team who really don't have a household receiver. Every team out there has a top-notch receiver that is a household receiver. Bears have none. What money, what draft picks do they do anything to get this receiver? Again, Pittsburgh Steelers are holding on to all options, so they are in the driver's seat. What's your take on this, Steve?
I mean, he's mostly frustrated at the point that he's not getting the ball. And I think he's got his back against the wall right now. And he's pretty much he's getting overplayed by Juju Smith-Schuster at this point, Smith-Schuster's getting the ball more than he is. Obviously, Antonio Brown's going to get the ball more than he is. Big Ben's got a couple more years left in his contract, and he might be retiring soon. Is it a good move for him to go to another team? Yes. He can be a number one receiver on another team, but his off the field and on the field actions have to change.
Absolutely.
He needs to get paid at this point. To me, he's not a number one on any team. He's a number two on a team, maybe a number three, because he's only got a one-style game. He's a deep threat. He's not a receiver that can go up the middle like Brown, go deep on on routes with like Brown, and do everything what Antonio Brown can. I mean, don't you agree with that?
Absolutely.
So the Bears would be a good fit. They don't have a number one receiver right now. There's a lot of teams that don't have number one receivers. The Cleveland Browns, they don't have a receiver. They don't even have a quarterback at this point.
They just drafted one and they're looking to move up to get another one, which is, that's the Cleveland Browns. It seems like they're always looking for, a go-to quarterback or a number one quarterback, but then it seems like that's all they want is to be known in the draft. And they just want to be the winners in draft, but they don't do anything on the field.
And I feel like if they were going to move Martavius Bryant, they would have moved him last year and got rid of him when he got benched. But there's a reason why they kept him. If they want to use him now as trade bait to try to rebuild and try to get a young quarterback to back up, Big Ben, that's what I would do at this point.
That's a great analogy on that, especially with Juju Schuster being their second receiver now. I think he's proved it himself on the field. As a player himself, so I think Martavius Bryant realizes himself that they're squeezing him out of the team. So, that's going to be interesting offseason. We're all looking forward to that. Moving on to the next player that we kind of discussed is Des Bryant with the Dallas Cowboys. There's still no contract negotiations talks on him in Dallas. We all know how Jerry Jones is. He controls the team. He controls the sideline. He could be the coach. He'll call the shots. As an owner, many teams, even the fans have sat there and said, as an owner, please sit in your booth. Don't make any judgments. Don't make any trade baits. Don't speak for the coach. Don't speak for the players. But in the situation with Des Bryant, here's a player who's looking for a big contract. But just like we've spoken to before, he drops the balls when he's needed the most. He doesn't have the cuts. It doesn't have the speed he used to have as a young prime receiver when he came into the league. So what do Dallas? Looking at Dallas last year when Zeke Elliott got suspended 4 games, Des Bryant, you would think he'd be the next man up, but he really wasn't in a situation. There was a few games where he's caught the ball where the game went to him, but it seems like in the end zone, where we rely on him, he's crying because, man coverage is there. He can't push off the cornerbacks anymore like he used to. And he's going back to the sideline and crying again, and he wants this and wants that. He's getting old. Do you see Dallas Desless at the beginning of next year?
Dez is a big part of that offense. I mean, regardless of the fact that they do have a great run game with Zeke at this point. But Jerry Jones made that decision when DeMarco Murray was there. It was either keep Dez or keep DeMarco Murray. And DeMarco Murray had a great season that year before he got taken, sent to the Tennessee Titans. And he took a chance on him. There's a reason why he took a chance on him. Now he's got a second-year quarterback, Dak Prescott. He's got a really old tight end, in Witten. I mean, who else do they have at that point? They have Dez, they have Terrence Williams, they have Beasley, and now they have Zeke. I mean, as a Chicago Bear, I'm from Chicago, I take him, Dez gets targeted about 5-6 times a game. He should get targeted way more than that. I mean, he's a prime receiver out there, right? When he does get targeted around 8 to 10 times a game, he's giving you your 90 to 100 with 2 touchdowns a game. So Dallas needs to re-sign him. Not a big contract, but I say re-sign him, keep him on your team. He's been there from the beginning. He fits your offense. You got a young quarterback. You got a young running back. And that's my take on it.
That's going to be, again, interesting offseason in general with the NFL. So I'm actually looking forward to the draft. I'm looking forward to what's going to happen in the NFL. There's I believe there's going to be a lot of big name changes. That's what they're predicting. Big contracts coming up, quarterback swaps. We'll see what happens in Minnesota. So we'll move on to the MLB now and discuss some changes that came about this past Monday. At MLB, and I'm surprised that they didn't think about this in the previous seasons, even way before, where their hoping in the future is to limit mound visits by pitchers and the coaches, and when they do a pitcher change, they want to speed up the process and even limit that, maybe shorten up the game a little bit, because as we all know, the game can take long in between pitching changes. We've seen that happen where sometimes coaches do that just to have their reliever warm up a little bit more and have the confidence before he pitches. Reduce mound visits too, and we've seen that too. Where let's say the pitcher's not ready yet, the coach will go on. I'm sorry, what do we call him in the MLB? The pitching coach will go on to the mound and buy some time and come back and go back out again, just because we know the reliever's not ready yet. So I think what they're trying to do is tweak that and shorten it. So that's a rule they implemented this past Monday. So we're going to see how that works. With me, like I said, that's something they should have done years ago. Steve, what's your take on that?
I mean, they changed it up a couple of years back when they with the walk situation, the intentional walk situation. Mm-hmm. Now they don't throw 4 straight balls to get you at first base. You just tell them that this is the person I want to walk, and you send them to first base.
Yeah.
I've been to baseball games. When you do a pitching change, you're able to bring the pitcher out, and he's able to throw 10 pitches before in commercial break, get his warm ups in, and go from there. Mm-hmm. Is it to speed the game up? I don't know. I mean, I'm not against it. It's a strategy,
It is. I definitely agree. I totally believe it's a strategy, and they need that. What I want to touch base on next is the Chicago White Sox. We have Avisel Garcia coming off the best season in 2017 with a batting average of .330 with 18 home runs, 80 RBIs brought in. With him, this is something that Chicago White Sox, came in with a $5.87 million offer. He obviously won the arbitration and is getting $6.7 for the next season. Looking at the Chicago White Sox, we're going to go to highlights momentarily, but looking at a team with what they have, last year, right before the season started, they traded away a lot of players, gotten young as a team. This is something the Chicago Cubs did too before they, exploded in the regular season. They have a lot of young talent with that team. we're going to take a moment break and show you some highlights of this team and what they're doing as far as, and I know it's early, but we're going to show you what they're doing in the spring training right now.
There's a long try to right. If it's fair, it's gone. Hooking in the corner. It is fair. And it's gone. And LaRoche hits a rocket out of here, Brian, down the right field line, breaking the 2-2 tie for the Sox.
And even more impressive is off a nasty lefty, which has got to be a great confidence booster for LaRoche going into the season. I know he struggled a little bit last year, but like I said, if they could get him off to a hot start and have consistent at-bats throughout the season, he can really carry the team.
Okay, so we saw the highlights of the Chicago White Sox. We don't know what to expect from this team this year, just because we didn't see such a a team that showed dominance towards the end of the season. So it'll be interesting. They have the pitchers there. They have the young talent. We saw the highlights. Again, it's spring training, but they can take it out of their ballpark. So young talent is where you want to go. Your take on it?
Young talent is where you want to go, Ash. I pretty much agree on that. I mean, you saw the Cubs did it. They revamped their whole squad, and they went to the minors, and they got Chris Bryant, they got Javier Baez, Addison Russell, Albert Almora, and they put it in. They got one or two veterans. When they won the World Series, was David Ross and Chapman and Zobrist, and those were the veterans that they had, and everybody else was new and young. And that's what the White Sox are pretty much doing. They gave up all their players to go to the farm system. They got top-notch players, and for them to pay this man's salary off, they're going to stay young.
They're still probably in the market for a pitcher to kind of go back to Jake Arrieta, and I kind of touched base last week with his situation. St. Louis nor Milwaukee has done anything as far as trying to go after this pitcher. Why don't the Chicago White Sox maybe pursue a Jake Arrieta, knowing how he knows his situation with the Cubs? They have the money. They do have the money with to get a pitcher like that. If they want to break that barrier, if they really want to win for this team, go after a pitcher and maybe even close that door gap and win that division.
The thing is, Ash, is Jake Arrieta, in my opinion, is Jake Arrieta worth $200 million? And that's kind of what he's looking for, anywhere from the 150 200 mark. If that was the case, then he would have got the money from the Cubs.
Yeah.
And we would have enough to get him and Darvish. So my opinion is, I see Jake Arrieta going to the Nationals. If not going to the Nationals, let's stay in our division and possibly land anywhere in Milwaukee or St. Louis.
Okay, that's a great point too. So it'll be we'll see what the Chicago White Sox do. I think they'll make some noise. Talent is the way to go young, and that's the only way to do it. You need to rebuild. You got to go young. It's a 3 to 5 year window depending on management. You know what? You're going to need a great general manager. You're going to need a great skipper. And that's something that what the Chicago Cubs did. They gave their fans a window, and they promised them. And I think that's a blueprint of what the Cubs, what the Sox are trying to do is take the copy of what the Cubs did and go the same route.
See, I'm a big believer that the AL is loaded with hitters, and that's where Jake Arrieta came from. He came from the AL. He came from the Baltimore Orioles, where he was a number 5 pitcher in the Baltimore Orioles, had a terrible record with them and a high ERA. Came to the Cubs, unfortunate, in the NL. NL is not loaded with hitters like the AL is. And, he pretty much landed on a young team, young pitching, staff, and decided to end up winning the World Series with them. Can Jake Arrieta go back to the AL and dominate the AL? I mean, the Cleveland Indians are in that division. The Minnesota Twins are surging in that division now. The Kansas City Royals are, in the White Sox division. Can he give you 15 games? Can he win 15 games or more for you? Is the question. And I don't see him doing that in the AL.
Yep. All right, so let's go on and touch base with some NBA news. One of our favorites here locally, Chicago, Jimmy Butler had a scary moment with the Timberwolves, and their fans might have been really scared. He was carried off the field, by his teammates. which, we'll show you some footage on that momentarily, but what was feared to be an ACL tear turned out to be a meniscus injury. I don't know the timetable. They don't know when he's going to return. It seems interesting with Tim Thibodeau as a coach. We saw this happen with the Chicago Bulls under Derrick Rose. Is this something that he's overplaying his players, or was this just a fluke situation?
I mean, Tim Thibodeau is known for grinding his players, and we all saw it happen with Derrick Rose. At the time that it happened with Rose, we were up 12 points in the game with a minute 45 left in the game. I don't know why Derrick Rose was still in the game, and unfortunately, it happened on a non-contact injury. Mm-hmm. And it happened same thing with Jimmy Butler, but in a situation where it was becoming a good game. Jimmy Butler's a two-way player. He's your offensive player, and he guards the best offensive player on the other team. And for the way that I was watching the game, for that injury to happen on a non-contact injury, he's lucky that that's not an ACL tear, it's just a meniscus tear. Got speculations today that he will be out for the remainder of the season, but fortunately will be back for playoff time. Okay,
that's what I was saying. So exactly, Steve, tell us what happens when you have a meniscus tear. What's the difference from an ACL? Is it the same tear in the same knee part? Is it?
I mean, the ACL is pretty much, it's the main muscle that's inside your knee. The meniscus can take anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks, maybe possible 8 weeks to recover. Russell Westbrook recovered from 2 of them, and look at Russell Westbrook right now. The last injury he had was he tore his meniscus and came back, 100 times stronger. So Derrick Rose's last injury was a meniscus tear as well. ACL is the main injury. That's the main ligament to tear. He's lucky that he didn't tear that muscle, but he should be back. He'll be stronger. Jimmy Butler's young, and hope to see him in the playoffs.
It'll be, it's unfortunate. It's a great player, but let's show you some footage on Jimmy Butler. We had to hold our breath because you don't want him not to perform at his top. So here's some footage for your viewers to see exactly how this happened.
This is one of the toughest guys in the league, and if he's not legit hurt, he doesn't stay on the ground, Dave.
It is the big news of the night, and unfortunate news. We await how serious the right knee injury is to Jimmy Butler, who went down without getting bumped into and on his own. Afterwards, lots of reaction from both sides, beginning with his coach, Tom Thibodeau.
Yeah, there was no contact. It just was like a scramble, loose ball, offensive rebound. It looked like he was trying to almost Euro step to create something, and that's where he went down. So it's basically, until they do the MRI, they're just speculating. So we'll see. We'll know more tomorrow.
Well, it was a bang-bang kind of play. I was right there. I just automatically knew he might miss some time.
Was there any contact that you saw or anything? Anything
It was just one of those quick movements. His knee just kind of looked a little shaky, fell down. You could tell instantly by his face and how much pain he was in. Just hoping for the best. Jimmy, his first reaction is, I'll be okay. I'm okay. But once MRI tells you a different story, well, then we'll have to wait and see. But right now, we're just praying for the best and have to wait and see what the doctors say. But he was smiling. That was a big thing. That was a huge relief for everybody in his locker room. But he's a warrior, so we just got to hold it down for him.
We're still waiting on an update on Jimmy Butler's status, but you said something as he was being carried off the court. What did you say?
So you're a warrior, man. You're a beast. You're a beast. I don't know what's going on with him, but he'll bounce back better than he was.
Tweet from our own DA. Maybe some encouraging news, guys. MRI Saturday, final word, but some optimism in Jimmy Butler's camp. He may have at least avoided the worst, an ACL tear on Friday. That would be very, very encouraging news if that was the case.
All right, so we went on and saw some footage on Jimmy Butler. Hope you feel better, get well soon, and you're going to be needed for the playoffs. Again, great player. Best of luck to him. On to the next topic we're going to discuss is Kawhi Leonard with the San Antonio Spurs. Kawhi Leonard spent 10 days with the doctors during the All-Star break trying to get a second opinion on his quad injury. Steve, what's your take on that? Have you heard any news on him?
Kawhi Leonard got cleared to play. Popovich came out the other day and said that he's unfortunate that he'll see Kawhi Leonard come back this season, but then again, we all know Pop can make it happen. Mm-hmm. I think Kawhi Leonard's holding a grudge against Popovich and the Spurs just because of the fact that they're not going out to get players to help the Spurs contend in the West. He's got an old LaMarcus Aldridge. He's got an old Paul Gasol. He's got an old Ginobili. He's got an old Tony Parker. I mean, they're all veteran players, and you got to understand, Kawhi Leonard right now is the best two-way player in the NBA, and second would be Jimmy Butler at that point. And for him to go out and play, 40 minutes a game, both sides of the ball and giving it his all, I mean, he needs to step out of his box right now and come back and play, because you got to understand, Kawhi Leonard can land a $200 million contract this NBA offseason. He could be one of the highest paid NBA players. So, is Greg Popovich going to make it happen? I think so. I'll see Kawhi Leonard coming back in a week or so. He'll be playing. That's my opinion. And then there'll be the team coming out of the West.
Yeah, so it seems like we have some news that Kawhi is back with the Spurs facility, working out with the team. It kind of reminds me, it seems like these players now are kind of taking LeBron James' direction, where, you're not going to bring me players, why should I stay with your team? Is he going to do that approach too? His teammates are getting older, but if you're consistently making the playoffs under that coach, who Greg Popovich obviously is one of the best ones out there, do you, as a player like this, give the ownership and your coach a little bit more slack, knowing that you are making the playoffs, or do you pursue what LeBron James is and say, you know what, I want to pursue the championship if A, B, C player are performing as a team of all-stars, I want to go that direction too.
I mean, you got to understand, he's been on that team with all those players on there from the beginning of his career, look at the Golden State Warriors. They've got Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, and Tristan Thompson, and Draymond Green on the team. Mm-hmm. Kawhi can't guard all four of them, they're coming out of the West, and now with the Rockets, you got Harden, you got Paul, he's going to come down and, he's going to guard Harden, he's going to do what he has to do, but it can't all fall on Kawhi, he needs some help, and that's where he's holding back on, returning, just because of the fact that, this is what I think I deserve, and you guys are not giving it to me, so therefore I'm not going to play. And I see where he's coming from at this point, but you got a good team. They've kept a steady record. They're, I believe, 4th in the West without him. He's missed 56 games. Now is the time for you to come back. It's half the season's over, and it's going to be playoff time, and your team's going to need you. And this is where the veterans step in. Tony Parker, Ginobili, Aldridge, Gasol, pull him to the side, hey man, listen, we need you on this team. Get dressed, come to practice, and let's make it happen.
Absolutely. Sometimes it does take an overall team to do that. We'll stick with basketball, but we'll kind of stick with the community we have as far as there is an Assyrian night going on with the Chicago Bulls. And what this is, it's something that we haven't, I'm really actually proud of that, they went out there. I was actually kind of shocked to see this. They've landed a night with the Chicago Bulls. It seems like, I believe it's April 3rd at 7 p.m. at the United Center, playing the Charlotte Hornets, I believe. Discounted tickets. Go out there and get these tickets. There's a link. I'm not sure if I have it on here, but there's a link you can actually you can even call the United Center and get these tickets. Half off ticket prices, depending on the level that you're sitting in. And what happens is they're gonna mention our community. I'm not 100% sure yet, but it seems like they're gonna have us during the halftime. Some kind of, if it's a dance or whatever it is on the court. So this is a great step out there for our community to get our name out there. And what a wonderful way to do it, and actually into a major league sport like this. So hats off to the people that put this together. And again, there's a link that's out there right now, a Saturday night, April 3rd, 7 p.m. with the Chicago Bulls playing the Charlotte Hornets. To get more information, there are some information on Facebook, and I'm pretty sure you can look it up online or even call it the Chicago Bulls. So onto that, we'll move on to the NHL. This is something I wanted to go ahead and discuss myself. With the NHL trade deadline being today, we have one of the premier players, who's actually a veteran now, but Rick Nash went on and got traded from the New York Rangers and the Boston Bruins, who picked him up. Most likely going to be a rental player. Rick Nash, in his prime, was a phenomenal player who played for many years with the Rangers, but is still very skilled. It seems like the Boston Bruins are chasing that with 5 points, trying to get that division lead. So they get on, picked up Rick Nash. We're going to show you some highlights. Who can contribute with a team like the Boston Bruins? So we're going to go ahead and show you some highlights with Rick Nash and what he's capable of doing come playoff time with the Boston Bruins.
Long behind, can be cradled there. Worked along back to the point by Buchnevich, and a shot right on goal. Save, rebound, score! It is Rick Nash. And it is 2-1 Rangers.
Shot gets through the point. And the patience of Rick Nash standing right in front of Michael Neuvirth. He doesn't get it right away. Beautiful pass there from Buchnevich. The shot from the point of Holden, and watch Nash. Forehand, backhand, wait, and puts it into the wide open net.
Now Shea with the shot. That was the key to get it on net. Neuvirth has trouble with the rebound. And Rick Nash, it's something he's done all season long, is go to the front of the net. His statistics are not indicative of the type of season that Rick Nash has had, and he on behind.
Okay, so you guys saw some highlights of Rick Nash. Again, he's a veteran. The Boston Bruins, I believe they picked him up as a rental player. In most cases, this is what happens to come trade deadline, which is still going on. A lot of names went out, nothing big as Rick Nash with the Boston Bruins. So in a situation like this, kind of go locally, the Chicago Blackhawks traded away to the Nashville Predators. They sent Hartman, who is a local kid, a grinder. He wasn't much of a producer when he came into the league last year, so hats off to him. I wasn't really fond of him going to Nashville from all the teams he could have gone to, but let's see what he does. Best of luck to him. We'll take a brief time out. We'll go to some standings around the leagues, and we'll come back to you momentarily.
Can you blow my whistle, baby, let me know. Girl, I'm gonna show you how to do it, and we start real slow. You just put your lips together and you come real close. Can you blow my whistle, baby, here we go. I'm betting you like people, and I'm betting you love freak mode, and I'm betting you like girls to give love to girls and stroke your little ego. I bet you I'm guilty, your honor. That's just how we live in my genre. Who in the hell done paved the road wider? There's only one blow and one rider. I'm a damn shame, order more champagne, pull a damn hamstring, tryna put it on ya. Let your lips spin back around, come up. Slow it down, baby, take a look. Blow my whistle, baby, let me know. Girl, I'm gonna show you how to do it, and we start real slow. You just put your lips together don't even know she can get in it for the low. Told me she not a pro, it's okay, it's under control. Show me soprano, cause girl, you can handle. Baby, we start so then you come up in park clothes. Girl, I'm new, so with my Bugatti the same nose. Show me your perfect pitch, you got it, my banjo. Talented with your lips like you blew out a candle. So I'm using, know you can make it whistle with the music. Hope you ain't got no issues, you can do it. Even if it's no bitch, you never lose it. Can you blow my whistle, baby, let me know. Girl, I'm gonna show you how to do it, and we start real slow. You just put your lips together and you come real close. Can you blow my whistle, baby, there we go.
Okay, so as we promised earlier today in our show, there's going to be a special segment I had mentioned. It's called Rising Stars. Kids, they're pursuing their dreams. One of my actually good friends who's got a son. His name is Goriel Yar, who's got a son, Goriel III, whose son started playing hockey in 2004. Who plays goalie and is one of the most outstanding players that I know at his position. Best of luck to you. As you can see his footage, you know, he plays for the juniors. I believe it's the juniors at the moment. God bless you. Keep up the great work. And I know it's not easy. It's you know, hockey as a sports profession for families is not easy. It's an expensive sport, a lot of traveling, especially at his young age. His desire was to play the position he's playing. As you can see, he's wearing the Phoenix Coyotes jersey, or the Arizona Coyotes, I'm sorry, since they changed their name. But, you know, that's like one of the minor teams he plays for. So, Goriel III, best of luck to you. God bless you, and keep up the great work. And hope to see you make your dreams come true, and dream big, and keep going with whatever you're doing. Other than that, we'd like to close off the show. I'd like to thank my viewers for tonight, my producers. Thank you so much for viewing After the Whistle with Ashor Daniel. I'd especially like to thank my guest, Steve Mushi. Thank you so much for coming in tonight and sharing your thoughts with us. Have a wonderful night, everybody. Good night.
Can you blow my whistle, baby, let me know. Girl, I'm gonna show you how to do it, and we start real slow. You just